In this video, we are going to talk about how to use the fast array strategy to multiply and divide. But let's first talk about what is an array. So an array is a way that we can set up information into rows and columns and make it easy for us to multiply and divide. For example, if we know we have groups of 5, so I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a row of 5, so a group of 5, and if I have 3 rows or 3 groups of 5, I would line up so I had my rows, which are 5 in each row, and I have my columns, and I have 3 in each column. Now, that's not a fast array because I have to take time to make each dot. Here's an example of how to do this exact 3 by 5 array as a fast array. And so if I know I have rows of 5, I'll make one row of 5. And I know that I have 3 rows, I can make going down to show 1, 2, 3. And if I label 3 and 5, I'm going to put a box on the inside for that unknown. How many total dots would I have in my array? Now both of these have the same equation. 3 groups of 5 equals that unknown. Now, the quickest way to come up with the answer is to count by my rows. So I know that's 5, and I'm going to imagine that I have 5 more right here, and that's 10. And I'm going to imagine that I have 5 more right there, and if I'm doing my 5 count bys, that's 15. So 3 times 5 is 15, and I would have a total of 15 dots in my array. Let's do another one. This time, would you make sure you have a whiteboard marker, and something to erase with? So stop the video, get all those things set up, and then press play when you're ready, and we'll try a couple of these together. All right, so let's get started. Let's do 4 times 7 equals. And let's create a fast array to figure out the answer to this equation. So 4 times 7 is, I have 4 groups of 7, and if I'm talking about arrays, I have 4 rows of 7. So let's start by making one row of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 dots. Let's label that so I know I have a row of 7. And we know that we have 4 rows, so let's start with our first, and that's our first row, second row, third row, fourth row. Let's put a 4 there. Now, we don't know how many are inside. That is our unknown. And now we are ready to do our 7 count bys because we're going to count our rows. Of course, we start with 7, and our next count by for 7 would be 14. And again, we are just imagining that there are 7 dots there. We go to our third count by, 21. Again, imagining there's 7 dots there. And after 21, we would count 28. And so that tells us that we have 28 dots inside if we actually wrote them all down, and that 4 times 7 equals 28. All right, move to a clean spot in your whiteboard and let's do another one. Let's do 6 times 7 equals. Okay, let's figure out what it equals. Where do we start? That's right, we want to think that we have 6 groups of 7 or 6 rows of 7. So make your first row of 7. Okay, label it. Then what do? That's right, how many rows of 7? We have 6. So we're going to go down to mark those. We count the first one that we already did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's label that with 6. Of course, our unknown is how many dots would fill in our array. And since it's a fast array, we're not going to write them all, but we are going to start using the strategy of our 7 count bys. So let's write our 7 count bys as we count how many rows of 7 we have. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. We have 42 dots if we fill out all of the rows and columns in our array, and 6 times 7 equals 42. Now let's try this strategy by dividing. So now let's start with 42 divided by 7 equals something. This time our array is going to look a little different. All right, we still know that we have 7 in our rows. So let's draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now this time we know that we start with 42 because 42 we're dividing it into rows and 7. So we know our inside. We know how many total dots we had if we could draw out our complete array. But we don't know how many rows of 7 we have. We just know there are 7 in each row. So let's put a circle here to show that we don't know how many rows of 7 equal 42. But we can figure it out once again by counting by 7s. Our first row is 7. Put another dot and let's continue counting by 7 and label that 14. Put another one, label it 21. When do we stop counting by 7s? That's right, when we get to 42. So we need another one. That's 28. Another dot, that's 35. Another dot gets us to, 42. Let's stop there. Now, let's go back and count how many rows of 7 we have. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So using the fast array, I know that 42 divided by 7 equals 6. Okay? Let's have you give it a try. All right, let's write the equation. Here we go. 35 divided by 7 equals what? Where do we start? That's right. Let's make a row of 7. Because we know we have rows of 7. Do we know how many rows we have? Nope. Let's put that circle. How many total are in our array? That's right, 35. All right, so again, I forgot to label that. I know I have 7 in each row, but I don't know how many rows I have. How do I figure that out? All right, let's count by 7 and let's add our rows and stop when we get to 35. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. I can stop because I got to my total that I know that I have if I counted up all the dots. Now I'm going to go back and count how many rows of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know I have 5 rows of 7 and that 35 divided by 7 equals 5. Nice job. If you're still uncertain about this strategy, I encourage you to rewind the video and watch it again. And I'm sure that it will make sense to you, and I encourage you to try it when you are solving equations.